Now that we have some walls in here, let's go ahead and take a look at creating some floors. So I'm going to go back to my floor plan here. I'm going to go ahead and close out on the elevation in our 3D view. And I'm going to go to our architecture tab and the floor command. I'm just going to do floor architectural here on the drop down. And I'm going to sketch in a floor. You can use the default boundary line, but for this one, you see how it's going to highlight the entire wall. We're going to do floors by rooms for interiors, as if they were just a finished plan and a finished floor as opposed to a slab. So I'm actually going to go ahead and sketch in my own lines. And we'll do it a couple different ways. You can find out, try out the different tools and see which one you prefer. This one here is just going to be the line command. Actually, if you have a rectangular space, this is the simplest. Just use the rectangle. One click to start. You can see it starting to sketch there. The pink lines are our sketch lines for our floor boundary. I'm going to pull that down to the other corner. And this is going to have then all one finish for this room, for this floor. And once I'm done here, you'll see that this we have a highlight here on the tab and a green check and an X. So that, in addition to the pink lines, are two good notifications for you that we are in a sketch mode. And something that's important to note for the floors is that the floors need to have a consistent boundary and one connected boundary. So if I were to delete this and delete that, and you can see then I only have 3 lines here for my boundary, that is not going to be acceptable. And if I try to finish it, I'm going to get an error here about that the lines must be in closed loop. So you could quit the sketch. I'm going to continue. I'm going to undo that up here and bring that back. So I have one continuous path for my floor outline. All right, so from that, I'm then going to finish my sketch, and I now have a floor. So let's take a look at, we can see it's here in 3D. Kind of hard to see the floors sometimes, they're down there. It can also be hard to grab the floors. So just keep that in mind. When you're in a floor plan, you have to be right on the edge and you have to hover and tab. I'm hitting tabs, I would spacebar. I'm not holding it down. I'm hovering. You can see wall, wall, and then there's the floor. So the tab command runs through the various items you can select. But I find another easy way to be able to highlight and grab the floors is in a 3D view. You can always rotate it this way and grab it from underneath, or you can also always put in a section and switch that to a working section just for you and when you go to that section view, again, really easy to grab the floor. You can always edit the floor after you've sketched it. All right, so even if I'm in this view, I hit edit boundary, it's going to tell me I need to go to a floor plan. I can't edit the floor in this view, but that's no problem. I go back to my floor plan. I'm in a similar view as what I sketched. And actually, now that we're here, I'll go ahead and move this boundary and we can put a different floor type in here. All right, so there's my floor. This is just a generic 12-inch. There are some other options in here. So let's go ahead and I'll make this one here a ceramic tile. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a floor in for this other portion. So floor architectural again. And I can use the rectangle again, but I'm going to use the line tool so you guys can see that. This, you're just sketching each line individually. Also, if you had a floor that doesn't go along the wall, that's fine. You could do something like this. And then I'm actually going to use our mirror command here and pick axis. So mirror, and I'm just going to flip it around itself. Oh, apparently that wasn't a true 45. That didn't really work. All right, let's not do that. I'll go back and draw another floor. So it doesn't have to be just along the wall edge. If you have patterns or the floors are different, then we can do that. So let's go ahead. I'll make this one, maybe this is ceramic tile again, and then this is a little inset of wood. Okay, so we've got different floor types going on here. And let's take a look at it in our 3D view. That's from the bottom there. Okay. Now these different ones, you can see that this one actually has a pattern applied to it. Not all of them do in the material. And we'll get in the materials more later on. But for now, you can just use the ones that are in there. And then if we take a look, if we change our visual style here down on our bottom ribbon, it defaults to hidden line. And hidden line's a great resource, but we can also look at shaded, which is just going to show the color. It's kind of a generic color for the material. Or if we go to realistic, That's going to switch it to an actual swatch of a material. And we will learn how to create custom materials and edit these down the line too. But for now, just know that those are options that you can switch that visual display option. That's not just for a 3D view, that's also for a floor plan. So that's actually going to be available for every view. So you can switch that. So especially for this, it's very helpful to see the different types. Switch that to carpet just so we have a different view. Well, that is a, in my opinion, ugly brown carpet, but that's okay. All right, so there we go. We have our different floor types in here. As I said, you can always edit a floor after it's created. The important thing is making sure that you're not overlapping your floors. If I were to move this floor, Revit's going to give me an error and it's going to tell me, hey, you're overlapping. So that's something that you don't want to do. Okay, so you just want to make sure that your lines are clean and against each other for your floors. And then you can put in as many different ones that you would like. I do recommend doing individual floors per room. Sometimes people will do multiple boundaries within one floor, but I think it can get very messy. And as the model changes, it's cleaner to have floors per room. So if I were going to do the rest of the building here, I would do another floor, even if it was going to be carpet or tile again. I would do another floor for this space. All right, so we got another floor in there. Now, if you want to create a pattern for the floor, you can apply it. If I or if you were going to make that would only be the patterns are only going to show up in the hidden line versus the swatches that show up in the realistic. So typically, we'd be able to see that wood joist pattern that had showed up before. Where did that go? Hmm. But let's say we have a generic floor here. And if you want to apply a pattern, you can go into the edit type and go into the structure. And then the material here, you would actually be able to, you can assign a material. And there's existing materials that are in here. So you could search for one. And then under the information here, and this is just a brief look at it. We'll go into more depth than this, but just a brief look here. Under the surface pattern, that foreground would be what you would see in that view. So let's say we wanted it to be a 4-inch tile here. We would assign that. And we're going to make sure that it's a model pattern here when we assigned it, the drafting versus the model. Select that here, say OK, and then I would say OK again and OK. And we'll go more into depth in that. That's just a preview there on what you would see. That's why. All right. In the template, they decided to hide these, but that's okay. We're going to take a look at that in our next video on creating finish and furniture plans.